911, what's your emergency?
Help! I'm trapped inside whatever device you use to listen to podcasts. Help! Please let me out!
I'm sorry, ma'am. Did you say trapped?
No, I said,
No.
Should I do one again where I say stuck?
No, I love it. I just improvised that. I think it's actually kind of funny.
Okay. Funny story about today's episode is that we tried to record it yesterday, and then like 40 minutes into recording, Ryan realized his microphone wasn't recording. So it's the next day. We're taking it again. We're starting fresh. And I think we're going to be even sharper than yesterday because we got our little practice session yesterday.
I agree. It's like we're coming into this fully warmed up, like with a roadmap for once. Like other than just our notes, like we actually know what we're talking about.
It's funny though, because I'm just assuming we're going to be recycling every joke we said in our first 40 minutes yesterday. So that,
I'm sure
the audience won't know, but we'll know.
But we'll know and we'll laugh. We'll chuckle. This is also a very special episode of the First Verse Podcast because this is our very first episode with a guest.
Yes, we're doing a special little guest segment later on with Ryan's oomphy, Twitter famous boy named Brooklyn.
Brooklyn from Belfast. If you don't follow him, you're not my friend. And if you haven't seen his tweets, you definitely have because he has had very many viral tweets. Been very influential in the online gay sphere, methinks. And he was a wonderful guest. We brought him on as a sort of outside gay boy perspective to talk about Buddy and to talk about the episode because this is a Buddy heavy episode. And were our expectations met, would you say?
Well, we had a funny experience where, we sort of came in like, we'll get an external perspective to talk about Buddy, like see the Buddy in this episode, and they're going to find it so gay. And then he came on and kind of immediately was just like, I don't really see it. So, which I was saying yesterday, like that's what we get for going in with like a bias, like as journalists, if we were journalists, that would be bad practice. And we just proved why. Yeah.
We had a flawed scientific method trying to prove our own hypothesis.
Our hypothesis was not confirmed.
It was not confirmed. It's still up in the air, one might say. He did come around to it a little bit as we sort of explained ourselves.
I got the sense that he was kind of just humoring us because he didn't want us to get mad at him.
Yeah.
And that made me feel even more embarrassed.
He was so sweet about it, by the way. He's like the sweetest guy ever.
He was still a great guest.
We had some good conversations too, so stick around for that. But it was a very...
Yeah, we won't spoil everything.
It was a very funny experience.
It was humbling, I would say.
Like being deep in this fandom and like being so up our own asses about this and then like seeing an outside perspective of someone who's like not like overly familiar with the show to watch it and a gay person too, like a gay perspective and to be like, I didn't really get that. And
it was like sharing your delusions with someone normal and then they kind of take you aside and they're like, I think you need serious help.
Are the gay boys in the room with us right now, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah.
But it was fun. It was really fun. I really enjoyed having him on. And I wasn't even really disappointed. I think I was just like thrown for a loop.
Yeah, I think we were a little embarrassed.
Yeah, just a little bit. But it was very fun. So stick around for that segment. It's going to be towards the end of the episode.
Yeah, we have a couple other guests we're considering having on in the future.
Yes, we do.
Like for full episode discussions. So stay tuned.
Yeah. And let us know if that's something you'd be interested in. I know like sometimes like podcasts will like invite a guest on and then like if I'm not feeling the guest, then I'll just be like,
right.
I guess I have to sit through this episode. So hopefully we'll field the guests. But so far the people that we're in cahoots with seem to be pretty good on that in that regard. They'll make some entertaining little appearances.
I have a dream for like if and when we ever get to season 7 in like 10 years. I would love to get, because I don't like know her personally exactly, but like we've exchanged DMs before. We watch each other's videos. I kind of know her. The YouTuber Ashley Norton, who makes those videos about The Bachelor. I know for a fact that she doesn't watch 911, but I would love to have her external opinion for the Bachelor parody episode in season 7. So I have this dream that like if and when we get to it, I'm going to DM her and be like, please come on the podcast, Ashley.
Ashley, come on the pod. Come on the pod. Please.
Don't watch the rest of the show. I honestly think it'd be funnier if you don't. If you just watch the Bachelor parody and the Bye Buck episode.
That would be a great guest spot, honestly. I'd be really into that. Okay, that's so fun. Well, listen, do we want to just dive into the episode itself?
Sure. Today we are covering for the second time, first and a half time, season 2, episode 4, Stuck. Not to be confused with season 1, episode 9, Trapped. Although we will find as we go through these episodes that they are rather thematically similar, believe it or not. But we think this episode is better than season 1, episode 9. So that's good.
Yeah, definitely. I think this episode is like far and away better. I was actually enjoying myself like the entire time watching this.
Yeah, much more thematically consistent.
Yes, definitely. Definitely much more thematically consistent. And you didn't have any really weird lines like sometimes the things that people think make us stuck are actually the things that push us forward. Juxtaposed with the homeless man leaving his shelter to go back on the streets.
Yeah, that I still don't really get what they were getting at there, but it yielded a lot of trapped jokes, so it's okay.
Yeah, and it'll continue to be a recurring joke throughout this podcast, including this episode. Spoilers.
What? No, no, never.
We can also add this to the canon of them girls getting stuck again, that core of cinema. Think about Fall, think about The Shallows, think about
47 Meters Down.
47 Meters Down. That one with Ryan Reynolds, Buried Alive.
Oh, sure. Does that count as a girls getting stuck movie if it's Ryan Reynolds?
Well, he's a little baby girl.
Okay, is the girl like kind of symbolic?
I think that was back when he was still sort of in his pop culture baby girl era, like before he got so overexposed and like in his other ventures that it's like he got the Dwayne Johnson effect.
I'm going to be brutally honest with you, Ryan. I'm not sure that man ever had a baby girl face.
Okay, well, maybe the girls that get it, get it.
If you say so. Well, we open with this adorable Eddie and Christopher wake up montage set to a Gloria Estefan song.
Yes.
And, you know, we see them going about their little morning routine. Eddie wakes up at 5:45. Which kind of is in character since he has like a military background. But for the record, and I said this yesterday when we were recording, I think it's fucked up that he makes his tiny son also wake up at 5:45. I think that's too early.
Yeah, he like immediately goes into Chris's room and is like, time to get up, bud, or whatever. And then they're like doing push-ups together and eating breakfast and brushing their teeth and they're matching little bibs.
They have matching little towels. It's so cute.
It's very cute, but I just like, I'm thinking about like when I was that age and like how pissed off I would be if my dad woke me up at 5:45 and school started at 9. Like, what am I supposed to do for the other 3 hours? We weren't allowed to watch TV during the week.
Elementary school starts like at earliest 8:30. There was no reason to be waking up at 5:45.
No, I think I mentioned this yesterday too, but when I was a kid, my favorite time, like I had a favorite time and it was 7-Eleven because we had a 7-Eleven right near us. And so I would always try and stay up to 7-Eleven, or I'd try and get up before 7-Eleven, and I'd get so frustrated because I never could, because I always fell asleep early and I always woke up late, and I would get like 13 hours of sleep every night.
Yeah, that is the crazy part to me.
And I would always miss 7-Eleven. I know, right? I mean, that's how I got so tall. But I guess in hindsight, it's less crazy than my favorite time being, you know, a couple hours later.
Oh, I get you. Yeah, I think when I was...
Coming at you live from New York City.
I think when I was little, someone told me at one point that 11:11 was a lucky time. So that was probably my favorite time. Yeah, listeners out there listening at home might not know that Ryan is 6'3".
Yeah.
But that freaks me out so much. Like, I'm going to meet you in person one day, and I can't compute in my head you being that tall.
I'll be a full head taller than you. Aren't you pretty short, too?
Well, it depends on how you look at it.
I'm sorry. She's tall for her demographic.
I think I'm like 5'5"-ish, which is perfectly average sized, if not slightly tall. No, it's not tall. I'm average sized. Anyway, this conversation is getting derailed. So they do their little morning routine. And I pointed out, I think it's really interesting here that they're seemingly intentionally juxtaposing. Christopher's room is like really filled with personality. It looks like a great little kid room. It's very colorful. There's lots of stuff on the walls. And then we cut to Eddie's room and it's like completely bare.
Yeah, completely bare.
Which again kind of is in line with his like military background maybe. But to us, like knowing in our hearts that Eddie is deeply repressed and gay, I feel like this is interesting setting that up because it's like he's literally like scrubbed away his entire personality and inner self in a way that I find really sad.
Okay, I think you're right about that. I do think that was an accident though.
You think so?
I've been ruminating on this. I think that what they were necessarily going for in like the set designers is that Eddie gives all of his resources to his son and he lives for his son, and so like Christopher has this amazing room because Eddie will splurge to give Christopher this wonderful childhood. Meanwhile, he doesn't leave a whole lot over for himself. Maybe that's just like his selfless dad persona. But the happy result of that is that it also signifies a deeply repressed Eddie Diaz who has no personality of his own because he's pushed it all down out of Catholic guilt and shame. And if he just, hung a rainbow flag in his room, then it would add a little bit more color.
Imagine in like season 8 or 9, once our trials and tribulations are over, if like his room stays as bland, but he just puts up one singular rainbow flag, unironed. Oh, fresh out of the packaging. Yeah. Ew, I'm like getting the ick. Giving myself the ick.
It is crazy to look at his room, especially in season 2, before they'd really built up his personality. When it is this bare, and it's like he doesn't even have anything to smash with a baseball bat.
Right.
He doesn't have anything to smash. What's he gonna do if he has a grief-fueled emotional breakdown? A grief and trauma-fueled breakdown.
If and when he has a breakdown, what's he even gonna smash?
Yeah. It's like it's gonna like the before and after is just gonna be like it's the same picture. Just he has a bat in his hands and maybe the bed is destroyed. The Freudian symbolism. The symbolism.
Sure.
Destroying the bed.
Okay.
Destroying the bed. Okay.
Well,
leaving that in the air. Let's let that hang for a minute. There's a very nice moment in this montage, this opening montage with Chris. He's putting on his socks and he's struggling a bit, and Eddie goes to he has this moment where he like starts to like go to help him, and then he stops, and then he lets him do it, and Chris gets it himself.
Yeah,
very
that's
sweet.
Like a little micro theme in this episode is that Eddie, one of the ways we see that he's a good dad to Christopher is like people around him kind of see Christopher as somebody who like needs to be helped in like a patronizing way, and Eddie kind of doesn't do that or doesn't allow for that in a way that is nice. Like he seemingly wants to give Chris a lot of independence and not patronize him like that.
Yeah, definitely. He knows his son well enough to know that like that's something he responds to is that independence, and it's good for him. So that's good. Good Eddie dad moment.
Good Eddie dad moment. No complaints here other than waking up the kid at 5:45. So then we cut to a Maddie voiceover. Is very Abby of her. It's very Maddie taking over Abby's place in the story. And during this voiceover, we start to see this scenario of this like security guard who notices some parkour graffiti artists.
Yeah, they're like free runners or whatever. Yeah.
And he's like, those kids, they've seemingly been here before. He's like, I gotta go catch those parkouring graffitiists. And so he like gives chase. He gets up on the roof with them. And at one point they like jump across a really small gap between buildings.
Like so small. Like a step will do it. Yeah.
Yes. But instead of just taking the step, the guy goes like hands first, grabs onto like the railing of this window he's trying to jump into and ends up dangling there. And, can't keep his grip and falls, but because this gap between buildings is so small, he's actually kind of caught by the buildings, but now he's stuck, if you will.
Yeah.
He's stuck. He
gets stuck.
You believe it or not, he gets stuck in between these two buildings. And that's when we cut to the 911 call.
Yes. And so it's like the next day, this lady's trying to park and she hears moaning. interesting. This very strange, disturbing moaning.
Yeah, she's like, we're hearing moaning.
And the 118 rolls up, and guess what? The guy's wedged between two buildings.
Stuck between two buildings, even.
Stuck between two buildings. He's stuck. He's stuck.
Guys.
By the way, stuck is the new Trapped.
Stuck is the new Trapped. Yes, that's my favorite Netflix show. Looking at this call, I decided to look it up and find out if this was inspired by any real life scenario. And apparently it was. There was a man in Honolulu, Hawaii in 2018, like right around when they would have been writing this season, who became wedged between two buildings. I don't think he was like hanging high up in the air. Like the pictures I saw, it looked like he was like closer to the ground, but obviously wedged in between the buildings. They couldn't get him out. So firefighters had to use drills, hammers, and saws to cut through a wall of one of the buildings. And apparently this took more than 3 hours, which of course in the show, the rescue seemingly takes much shorter than that, which made me think maybe this show is often... You know, in a lot of these calls, they probably in real life would take a lot longer than how they appear on 911. Yeah,
you got to take shortcuts for the narrative, I guess. But like, I would imagine that they also probably cut out the downtime. Like that might be implied. Like resuscitating someone, or giving chest compressions. Like we see later on in this episode, like they're giving chest compressions to a guy, and like. They stop after like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
When in reality, they'd probably be going for like a solid 5.
Yeah, you can
7,
do that
10
for like
minutes.
a long time, potentially.
Yeah, to keep the guy alive.
Right.
They sort of Rambo style go into this adjacent building, and they crash a showing of an apartment.
Yes, a private showing.
A private showing. The lady who's giving the showing specifies it as a private showing. But this is official city business, and they have to fucking bust through the wall, and they to like get the guy, obviously, and they start so high that they almost drill like right into his face. Or whatever.
They almost drill him, and it's like Jesus. they've got like Hen and Eddie up on top of the building, looking down.
Yeah.
And so that they can kind of direct the 118 inside, but it still feels a little too loosey-goosey.
Imprecise. Yeah, perhaps. They're literally eyeballing it.
Yes, very much. But finally they manage to get a hole in the wall, and they drag him through the hole. But first there's kind of a funny moment where the guy's like, can you hurry it up? Like, I gotta pee. And that's like the horrifying part to me, because like imagine if you had to go to the bathroom during one of these situations.
See, that's one of those smart moments that I love on this show, that like the really like human sort of like visceral way of like raising the stakes without it actually being like a higher stakes scenario. It's like, what if this guy pisses himself? That'll be so like embarrassing and gross, I mean, no offense to the guy.
Yeah, you're really making him feel better.
No offense to anyone who's ever pissed themselves, but they pull him through the wall. And they get him off. I almost said they get him off.
They get him off. Yeah.
Oh my God!
The scene takes a bit of a turn.
Listen. Well, I mean, the next call they go on. Listen. Yes, they get him out of where he's stuck between the two buildings, and they get him on his way to the hospital.
That's right. They do.
That is the good way to word that. It is actually funny. In Maddie's opening monologue, she's talking about like she's giving two competing definitions of the word rut, and like one is feeling stuck, feeling at a point in your life where you feel sort of like in a sort of a down place that's difficult to get out of, versus a rut that's made by the tread of a tire track. Right. And it's like the depression in the ground from a heavily traveled path.
Yeah.
And so it's like this nice thematic moment where it's like combining the two definitions, where even if you are feeling stuck in a certain place in your life, you can take comfort in knowing that many others have tread that track before and presumably have gotten out of it. But I was just thinking to myself during that monologue, that's not the definition of that word that this fandom seems most familiar with.
No. I'd be lying if I said I didn't have the same thought. Yeah, it was like really no mention of the Omegaverse, Maddie. We cut to then an Athena scene where she has been called into her boss's office at the police station. And, you know, the boss is like, you look worried. And Athena's like, well, yeah, like I'm not usually called into the office for a good reason. Athena is usually called into the office for like, she's in trouble for doing some police brutality or something.
We're putting you on desk duty. Yeah.
Right. But not this time.
Yeah.
Instead, her girl boss lady, Maynard, or whatever her name is, has called her into the office to offer her a promotion. She's like, Athena, I noticed you used to apply for a promotion to lieutenant every once in a while, and now you have stopped doing that. And Athena's like, yeah, I got rejected 4 times. And they bring up the fact that the old boss was like this sexist man who didn't think women had the leadership qualities to be lieutenant. So you know,
a real Gerard type.
Right. This girl boss is not like that. She's ready to give Athena the promotion. She's like, I could get you started as soon as next week, but Athena needs some time to think about it.
Yeah. You mentioned the disciplinary action that's been taken against Athena in the past. And like I know that like they were like very firmly going for like the misogyny angle, you know, it's social commentary, it's relevant, it's timely, it's good. But I would have laughed so hard if like they like started going down that road and like they revealed that the actual reason she got passed over 4 times were like completely legitimate. Like, you know, Athena, you've had a lot of complaints about, you know, excessive force.
You got 600 write-ups last year.
It's just a PR nightmare for us. Like, honestly, you're lucky to be employed. We're just so short-staffed.
Last month, we had you riding the desk because you stalked a 15-year-old girl.
Which, by the way, the most insane storyline to just get sort of cut off at the foot. Like, honestly, we never really heard anything about those girls ever again. And like Athena fully stalked and harassed and arrested them.
I guess, you know, I think they mentioned something about like the parents are willing to drop the charges if you like whatever have this disciplinary action. So I guess just the parents moved on. But yeah, it is kind of wild.
It's a crazy thing to move on from. I don't know. If that was my child, I would raise some hell.
Yeah, but there was a funny line in this scene where Maynard says something about why she wants to promote Athena. She's like, recruitment is down and retirement is up. And I just wrote, good.
Good.
Good. That's what we want.
Get him off the streets.
Yeah, truly.
Athena, so Athena's not sure. She's very like hesitant, and so we sort of like don't know exactly why she's hesitant. It's sort of like they're sort of like hiding their hand a little bit with that, and it's good, it's effective, and that's sort of where we leave the scene. And we get a couple of quick scenes in succession here. Because we go from there to Eddie, who is apparently running a little behind schedule. He's dropping Chris off at his abuela's house. And he just seems like he's being sort of stretched really thin. You know, he's a single dad. He's working. He's taking care of his son. He doesn't have regular childcare. It's rough. It's a process.
Yeah, and here we get another little moment of like Chris is walking over to Abuela, and she's like, "Come on, Eddie, help him." And Eddie's like, "No, he likes to do it himself, or whatever, or let him do it." And so it's kind of another moment of like him, you know, being a good dad in that sense of like letting Chris figure things out for himself the way he wants to. And then he has to really rush off to our next call, which is Maddie gets a 911 call from some clearly drunk girls who are kind of goofing around on the phone. Maddie's like, you know, this line is only for emergencies. And they're like, no, I swear I have an emergency. My friend's head. Yes, these divas. She's like, my friend's head is stuck in a pipe. Maddie's like, what? Like a sewer pipe, a drain pipe? And she's like, no, like one of those ones on the back of a truck. And she's like, you mean a tailpipe?
A tailpipe?
Cut to the 118 arriving. Girl's head is stuck in a giant tailpipe.
A giant, oversized, custom tailpipe that apparently cost the guy $1,500.
Yeah, I can't imagine being a car owner.
Yeah. So we got some things to address at the top of this call. First of all, they're at a bar, a honky-tonk bar that apparently does bottomless brunch. They mention mimosas.
Yes, it's apparently the morning based on the Eddie scene right before this. And like the girls mention on the call, they mention mimosas. So it's got a bottomless brunch
It's like
vibe.
a Saturday or something.
Yeah, but the place they show up to is like this weird little like honky tonk bar with like a mechanical bull. Like it's more of a like evening dive bar kind of vibe.
It looks so fucking fun.
It does. I would
So
love to
fun.
get bottomless brunch at the mechanical bull place.
Yes. Do you think they have food too? Like they're serving like waffles and like, you know, like French toast and
well, it's got to be like southern
fresh fruit.
They probably do like biscuits and gravy and stuff. Chicken and waffles, maybe.
Yeah. Oh my God. Field trip.
We'll find out where they filmed this.
And immediately upon walking in, the women at the bar start objectifying the 118 and specifically Buck and Eddie.
Yeah,
Buck and Eddie.
Drink for Buck and Eddie are hot jokes, which is one of my drinking game rules. And this scene has many of them.
Yes. Like at one point they say, okay, guys, the strippers are here. And then they follow the women through the bar out to the parking lot where this dude is like peacocking with his truck. He was apparently flirting with this girl. I can imagine this like encounter so vividly. And he was like showing off his truck, which is apparently named Betty, which we find out because they ask the woman her name and he goes, Betty. She goes, Jennifer. He's like, oh, sorry. Thought you meant my truck.
He's a truck guy.
He's a truck guy.
A real life truck.
No, we can't get sidetracked. We get too sidetracked every time this comes up.
Is there another head stuck in my tailpipe?
In my tailpipe.
Sorry, everybody. Sidetracked.
Oh, that was fantastic. But she put her head in on a dare. On a dare.
There's a great line where Eddie says, your idea of flirting with a girl is daring her to stick her head in your tailpipe, which, like, euphemism, double entendre aside, I just think it's hilarious that Eddie would judge anyone else's style of flirting with women, given his track record.
Hey, listen, say what you want about Truck Guy, but he wouldn't fumble Ana Flores.
True.
That's all I'm saying.
Especially at this point in the show, it's like Eddie has had one girlfriend in his entire life. Diaz is judging this guy's flirting style.
Entire life. This man has been presumably celibate for years.
Literally has been with one girl since middle school. Like glass houses, Eddie. Glass locker rooms.
Always had to perform. Glass closets even. One might say.
Glass closets. Yeah. Well, anyway, there's also a funny line where Bobby notices that the girl has some bruising on her arm. And he's like, to the guy, he's like, did you do this? And he's like, no, I didn't. And the girlfriends are like, yeah, no, it's true. That's from the mechanical bull. She wrote it like 5 times. I'm obsessed with the girl with her head stuck in the tailpipe. I feel like she seems fun.
No, she does seem fun. I want to queen out with her.
I want to queen out with her too. She went to bottomless brunch. She got drunk as fuck. She rode the mechanical bull 5 times and then she stuck her head in a tailpipe.
This is the kind of woman that you meet on a random night, any day of the week with her girlfriends, and you party and you have a great time until like 6, 7 in the morning. You're telling each other you love them in the bathroom. You're confessing your love for each other in the bathroom. You get their Instagram, and then the sun comes up and you never see them again. Never see her again. But you never forget her. You never forget her, and you never stop commenting on her fire posts. Exactly. And these women are, flirting really hard with Buck and with Eddie. Sort of like one of them asks for Buck's number. He says, oh, I have a girlfriend. Buck, move on. Seriously. Well, the other one asks Eddie if he has Snapchat. He says he doesn't. Which go you, doesn't. Eddie. Neither do I. Yeah. It's not 2016 anymore. Neither do I. Yeah. Are you kidding me? What do I think I am in, junior year of high school? Literally. No, a lot of people still have Snapchat, and that's crazy. I get perplexed by it. I'm like, why? Snapchat is like the new Facebook, as far as I'm concerned. Like nobody agree. Has that anymore.
Anyway, no
I
offense
fully
to anybody
agree.
out there.
But unfortunately, every gay in New York appears to have Snapchat, and they do it for gay things, which is fine. But I prefer to do my gay things in person, personally.
Well, it's like just text people like a normal person.
Yeah, just be social.
You can just send pictures to each other over text. I don't know. I guess like people probably like send nudes over Snapchat, but they say that nothing on the internet is ever truly deleted. So like, are those pictures on Snapchat actually disappearing, or are they just going into some massive database of all your personal information? I don't know. I'm just asking questions. I'm
going to guess the latter because Snapchat is still a very wealthy company, and so I have to assume they're selling the data that they're acquiring from those photos.
I don't know. I don't know why we're doing like tech conspiracy speculation. Let's move on.
About Snapchat of all things in 2025.
Yes. So Eddie does not have a Snapchat. Eddie does not have a Snapchat like a hip youngster. He doesn't have a Snapchat.
Yeah.
And he says, interestingly, he says to the girl, I don't think I'm what you're looking for. And then he says, I have a son. And like the point is like he doesn't think he's what she's looking for because he has a son. But like...
She has one too, by the way.
Yeah, she says, oh, no sweat. Like I have one too. But it's just like interesting that he says, I don't think I'm what you're looking for. And I took note of the fact that then Buck kind of looks at him significantly. But yeah, anyway, they saw the girl out of the tailpipe.
This is why this I'm sorry, I'm gonna be so subconscious about this for like the rest of the episode. This is why Brooklyn was like looking at us like we're crazy a little bit.
Yeah.
This is so fandom brained. Every little look means so much.
Because we're like, he looked at him for 1/2 of a second. I
have absolutely no legs to stand on because of my history with fandom. Like that is like so much less explicit and more embarrassing than Buddy.
Right. You ship Sam and Rory from Glee.
Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
What's the ship name? Is it Sorry or is it Ram?
It's actually Flynn Evans.
Oh, cute. Okay.
Yeah, their last names Flanagan and Evans. Flynn Evans. Although Sorry was actually really popular as well. It sounds a little Degrassi for my taste. But they break out the saw and they cut the tailpipe off to the chagrin of the truck's owner.
Yes.
And like watching, I'm just thinking to myself, imagine they fucking cut her head off.
Yeah, like I hope they had a good idea of exactly where her head ended.
I mean, because like we saw they had a close call with the other guy.
Right.
And so they get it off, they stand her up and they say, oh, we need lube, where's the lube? And one of the girls is just like, oh, don't worry, I have some.
Diva.
Queen shit. I think they are like low-key flirting with Bobby and Chimney too, but it's like more in the background. And
yeah,
the only one who's not really getting any action from these women is Hen. And I thought that because she's into women too, and I'm just thinking we need to get her to a lesbian bar stat.
But then my thought is like, okay, Hen is married and has a history of cheating on her wife, so maybe that's not the best idea.
That's true. Maybe we just need to get her home.
Like Hen's already too much of a chick magnet, if anything. Yeah, just get her home to her wife.
Tracy Toms. Tracy, where are you?
I agree. Like, Tracy, where are you? I do agree, though. Like, if the men are going to get flirted with by these hot women on the call, I feel like Hen deserves it, too.
Yeah. And so they get her out, of course. And she's chilling. She doesn't really need to go to the hospital. Bobby gives her instructions about
she gets the pipe taken off of her head and looks up at Buck and Eddie and goes, "Oh, you really are hot."
And she's like, yeah, I don't need to go to the hospital, I'm fine. Like, she needs another drink. Her friends are like cheering her on. And Bobby says, once you sober up, if you have XYZ symptoms, go to the hospital. And then they just leave her alone, basically.
Yeah.
She's an adult, she can make her own choices. But
right. And then Buck and Eddie,
they're
strolling away from the scene. They're strolling away from the scene, and Buck, for some reason, is prying into Eddie's love life. And he's like, so, is your kid, really the reason you don't date? And Eddie says, yeah, that, and they weren't my type. Which could mean nothing. Which could truly mean nothing. And Buck then says, not mine either. Not anymore. Which could also mean absolutely nothing. It's funny because clearly what they're trying to do here is they're trying to say he's not a player anymore, so he's not into just picking up drunk girls at bars. But in and out of context, like in the greater context of the show, it kind of feels like he's saying, they weren't my type either, now that I know you.
Yeah. It genuinely does feel like that. It really does. So there's a bit of sexual tension, but it's broken by Eddie receiving a very concerning phone call. Right, and he asks the caller, which one? Then he rushes off, very dramatic, and Buck looks after him like, oh no. So inexplicably,
yeah, we cut to the hospital. Eddie shows up. Inexplicably tailing behind him is Buck, who I guess they have both like taken off of work to go to the hospital together. They've known each other for like a week. And
they're already this like joined to the hip.
It's kind of like the thing at the end of the last episode where like Buck inexplicably drives Eddie to come reunite with Chris after the earthquake. It's like you can see from a narrative perspective, like in the writing, why they need Buck to be there to kind of give the 118 like an entry point into seeing what's going on with Eddie. But like, again, like out of context or in the greater context of the show, it just feels like, oh, they're like married now for some reason.
Yeah, that's exactly what it feels like. It's like Buck has this void that he needs to fill in his life. And from a utilitarian purpose, he sort of needs to sort of find his place in the narrative again. And both of those things are filled by this hot new coworker who happens to also be single and have an ambiguous sexual past.
Well, I personally...
Were we crazy?
I think utilitarian...
Were we crazy?
I think utilitarianism-wise, it's less about Buck and more about Eddie. I think it's like without the Buck connection, like how else would the 118 find out that like Eddie has this problem with like his kid needing childcare, whatever. But they get to the hospital.
Yeah, we need eyes into his situation. Yeah.
Right. Turns out Abuela has had a fall. She's broken her hip, like while taking care of Christopher. Eddie's aunt is there, his tia Pepa. And she's explaining the situation, and she's kind of like, Eddie, like, you can't keep leaving him alone with her. Like, she's getting older. She can't be your childcare all the time. And Eddie starts saying, like, you know, I've been trying to look into other options, but like all these waiting lists are so long, whatever, it's really hard. And you see Buck kind of taking this in like, that's too bad. I wonder if there's anything I can do for my amazing new friend Eddie.
If only there was someone that I knew that worked in, like sort of like as a caretaker who is like experienced with navigating these sorts of bureaucracies.
Who's maybe like a big Mad Max fan.
Yeah, and is a very trusted friend, and I've spent a lot of time with, and calls me Mel Gibson sometimes. I don't know. I'm drawing a blank. Drawing a blank.
Yeah, foreshadowing. But we kind of introduced the idea of Christopher being like a lady killer in this scene, which will become a recurring theme on the show. Eddie gets to the hospital and his aunt's like, yeah, Christopher's fine. And he's over talking to two nurses, like charming the fuck out of them. They're like finding him so adorable. And later on, I just think it's really funny that they chose to make this a thing with Christopher, because like later on in the show, we find out that he's like the most popular kid in his class. And then like later, it turns out he's like 2-timing girls at school. I just think it's so funny that like, especially when his dad is like so bad at romance that Christopher is like a young prodigy at charming women. Oh, I also thought there was a funny moment in this scene where, Tia is explaining what happened, and she mentions that Christopher called 911 and rescue got there really quick. And I thought, oh, that's funny that they're like glazing EMS. Even though the 118 didn't respond, they have to take the opportunity to be like, and the first responders got there really fast and the city services really worked well. I was like, it's funny. Yeah. Because I'm very anti like propaganda, but I do think it's funny when this show becomes like first responder propaganda, because I am in support of that.
Of course.
Especially, I was thinking about that in the wake of like these LA fires too. I was like, man, if only like first responder propaganda was as effective, I guess, in like getting people to fund their services as propaganda is, because part of the story is supposedly the like LA fire services have been defunded basically. And
definitely,
we need more attention on services like that and less on giving another $50 bajillion to the city police budget.
But we do get a Shannon Diaz mention in this episode.
Yes, she calls Shannon his gringa ex, which
yeah.
who stuck him with this situation. And I have to say, at first I was like pro Tia Pepa, and then in this moment I was like, fuck you, Tia Pepa. I'm no longer on your side.
You never understood what she was going through.
Nobody gets Shannon like I do, and we haven't even been introduced to her yet. But believe me when I tell you, audience, she is not just his gringa ex who left him with this situation. I mean, I guess she's not that, but...
Well, I just want to say thank you to the one person on Twitter who tags us in every single Shannon Diaz edit.
I basically asked
we see you. We see you.
Yeah.
We love you. Thank you for your service. We really appreciate it.
It's like the fandom might be sexist to Shannon in general, but just knowing that there are any Shannon Diaz edits does give me hope for humanity. That's my girl.
She can buy herself flowers.
So one other Tia moment in this scene that I think is funny is I feel like she kind of instantly clocks Buddy, because she, like, as soon as Eddie and Buck roll up, she's like, and who is this? And Eddie's like, this is Buck, we work together. And you can see Tia being like, oh yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
Which is how we feel as well.
I thought I loved that it's like in continuity, because like she's having basically the same reaction to Buck that Carla did when she was introduced.
Right.
And when she met Buck. And I just think it's so funny that he just has this sort of like this presence that inspires awe wherever he goes.
Yeah.
It's so special.
Right.
What a special guy he is.
And I think Eddie has a line in this scene too, where after Tia says that thing about Shannon leaving him stuck in this situation, he says, "I'm not stuck." But ladies and gentlemen,
he's not stuck.
He is stuck.
Wait, Jane. Did he say he's stuck?
Yeah, believe it or not, he's stuck. And if you look really closely, you'll notice that the title of this episode is also Stuck. Just a little food for thought.
That's deep, honestly. I might have to ruminate on that one.
I am too.
Yeah.
And I think good news. I think we're officially at the point where you realized your microphone wasn't recording yesterday, so we can finally.
I think we're making similar time too. We're making similar time too. So
good for us.
Yeah, we're moving forward.
Yes. Then we cut to Athena at home, and the kids and Michael get home. The kids have spent the weekend at Michael's house, and they've brought flowers for Athena, which they explain they're celebrating because they've heard about her big promotion. But Athena's kind of like, whoa, I haven't even accepted it yet. So we just kind of get more hints that she's feeling conflicted about this choice.
And Michael is as confused as we are in this moment. You know, it's like he's having sort of the same reaction that you'd expect the audience to. Because Athena, especially, like, I think it has been established that Athena, if not the most ambitious in her career now, certainly has a past with that. Obviously, like, we also know, we've seen, with the benefit of hindsight, herself in her late teens, 20s, and sort of that drive that she had. But she talks about in this scene how she's feeling sort of disconnected from that young woman that she used to be, that was so driven and so ambitious and sort of wanted to climb the ladder, as it were.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting idea that she's expressing, where she's like, you know, I used to have all these kind of external ambitions, and now that I'm older and I have a family, I feel like, you know, this is my life and this is what I care about making progress in, is like my relationships and my kids and stuff. And I don't know, I get her. I get where she's coming from.
I agree. I mean, she's more interested now in the sort of the security and the comfort afforded to her and her lifestyle by this job that she has and she's been very successful at. And, you know, shaking that up for the sake of fulfilling an old dream, you know, when you're at this point in your life, it might not seem worth it because that's not where your passion is anymore. Her passion is now in her family and her life. Right. Which I think is super respectable. I honestly think it's really respectable.
Yeah.
But I just have to say, this top that she's wearing, it's a very like nice cream colored top with some buttons on the sleeves, and the flowers that they got her match it perfectly.
Yeah,
absolutely perfectly.
Great attention to detail.
Yeah, no, honestly, like I was like, just, we love queening out about the fashion that the women wear on this show.
Well, yeah, I think I've mentioned this before, but I feel like Athena especially has like very stylish clothes on this show, to the extent that I almost wonder if like Angela Bassett has some level of input in what Athena wears, because it's such a distinct kind of different from the other women on the show. But either way, it's like she looks really good.
Yeah, I mean, it's Angela. I feel like you can't say no to Angela Bassett. Like when you're blessed enough to have her on your wee woo show.
Well, that's the thing. I'm thinking like, because she's an executive producer, like maybe she has more input about stuff like that than some of the other characters would. But then we go back to the fire station. Oh, yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say Michael is very encouraging to her, because he still remembers who sort of like that spirit that she had, even though they met when she was a little bit older. He still sort of like sees that sort of that passion in her to succeed and to improve and grow. And so it's just like, it's a really nice moment between the two of them. I'm so happy that they're at such a healthy place in their relationship.
Right.
I really love them together as a pair, and I really like Michael most when he is sort of encouraging Athena and they're having this sort of best friendship. You know, that's her gay best friend. That's her GBF. I
think from here on out for me with Michael, it's like, he doesn't do anything more to bother me, I don't think, like he did in season 1. But I think just because he and I got off on the wrong foot, like, I don't think I was ever really able to like repair my relationship with the character of Michael. So it's not so much that I like actively hate him. And I think he has like, good moments where he's doing good things. It's just that I like don't feel very invested in him as a person, like later on when they try and give him like his own storylines. But yeah, I also appreciate his friendship with Athena.
Oh, definitely. No, that's super fair. I don't think I ever got super. I always liked him as a supporting cast member more than anything, to be honest. But then we cut to the firehouse and they have a little guest.
Yeah, Christopher is there and everybody is obsessed with him, obviously. And they're like hanging out on the couch. Bobby comes up and also is enchanted with Christopher. And Eddie's like trying to apologize. He's like, my aunt can't take him till later. I didn't know where else to take him. And Bobby's like, of course you did, right here. And he says, Buck like gave me the heads up.
Okay.
It's like, okay.
He's putting in the work.
He is putting in the work. I'm sorry. It's so cute to me that Buck was just like, please Bobby, please Dad, like, can Eddie bring his kid to work? Like, because I know he's struggling. I think it's cute.
Yeah. I mean, like, Buck has an in with Bobby, like, they're so close. They went to a Springsteen concert together. That's his dad. He can ask his dad for anything.
Yeah.
He can ask his dad for anything. And he used his powers for good to
he did.
Help his crush. To help his little crush.
Right. Then we get a fun little montage of the 118 hanging out with Christopher. They they're so helping him down the fire pole. They bring him on a couple calls, which I thought was kind of wild because like, imagine if they showed up and it was like a bloody car wreck or something. Or, like the call that happens later. Like the call that happens later in this episode. Imagine like Christopher's tagging along. Like it feels like a dangerous game to play. But luckily they've brought him to like a non-fatal, like no injuries car accident. And Bobby's like explaining things to him. I was thinking of the lady in the car.
Bobby is so in his element, like being like in dad mode with this little kid. And
he misses his little kids.
He does. And he's so sweet with Chris. It's just like a fun little moment. I love seeing him in like dad mode. It's so nice.
Yeah. First, we see them like in the truck and everybody's like...
They have headsets. They got their headsets.
They've got headsets. Everybody's joking around. Christopher inquires about Chimney's head injury and he's like, yeah, I had some rebar stuck in my head, but I'm okay now. Yeah. Hen brings up, notably, she's like, do you know why we call him Chimney? And, Chimney seems embarrassed and she's like, I'll tell you the story later. So that's one of our first Chimney nickname origin mentions.
Is that the first time? Is that the first time that it was mentioned?
I feel like maybe there was a mention in season 1, but I don't remember.
I don't remember it either. I'll have to go and re-listen to the pod.
Yeah. But, this is one of the great mysteries of 911. It's kind of like Heather Sinclair in Degrassi, where it's just sort of a running joke that we don't know. And that's like the running joke of it all. So we don't know why he's called Chimney.
Okay, Heather Sinclair is even more enigmatic because, like, on the one hand, like, Paige will be, like, complaining about how popular she is. Everyone loves Heather Sinclair. She's the most popular girl in school. Like, Paige's greatest rival. And then she'll say things like, Heather Sinclair was waxing her unibrow in third period. And it's
so
like,
who is this Heather Sinclair?
Is this girl hot or not? Like, let's nail it down.
Unibrows can be hot, though.
Yeah, on Frida Kahlo.
Well, on Frida Kahlo, there's a Bollywood actress with a really pretty unibrow, Kajol.
Okay.
If you guys know, you know. But yeah, nothing inherently bad about unibrows. But yeah, in 2000s teen media, people definitely did act like unibrows were ugly.
By the way, since we are just coming out of an intermission because my roommate had to vacuum very briefly, I just want to say congratulations to Jane, our humble hostess, for landing some employment.
Yeah,
yes.
I finally got a part-time job. It's so exciting. I've been trying for a while, and I got an offer yesterday because, you know, for all you listening at home, your girl has been trying to see how far she can take YouTube financially since graduating. And the answer is, like, I'm very lucky. Like, I think I've gotten further than a lot of people do. But at the same time, it's still only like part-time job money. So if I ever want any chance of moving out, I need another part-time job, which I finally got. And now I'm going to work at the organic grocery store.
Yes.
So life is good.
Come on, grocery store.
Doing onboarding tomorrow.
No, I'm so happy for you. You've been working at this for a while, so this is like awesome.
It's rough out there right now. Like, no one got back to me except for this job. I applied for many, and almost none of them got back to me.
Yeah, I remember when I was job hunting over the summer, and it was like really, really tough because I was looking in restaurants, and New York in the summer, like this past summer, was absolutely dead for restaurants, like everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
It took me, I want to say, 2.5-3 months to for someone to like get back to me, and it was the same thing. It's like, come in for an interview, you get the job, you know.
It's wild. Like, it doesn't happen for so long and then happens really fast.
Yeah. It's just all about tenacity and just sort of staying with it. Yeah, so congratulations, dude.
For all my unemployed bitches out there, you can do it. There's hope. If I could do it, so can you.
This is our year.
This is our year. This is our time. You know, the age of the unemployed girl is here, but also hopefully coming to a close in the sense that hopefully you get employed soon. I feel your pain. I get it.
But, you know, back sort of in this montage. One last round of applause for Jane. We love you.
Don't
Congratulations.
worry about it. That's not necessary.
Yay!
Can I give a round of applause to the delicious looking grilled cheese slices that Bobby makes for Christopher?
Oh my God, these look so fucking good. And
They
you
look
know,
so
it's
good.
not just like, you know, he definitely seasoned like the pan a little bit. He added like some like extra bits in there to make it even more scrumptious.
Yeah, but at the same time, it looks like the really tasty, like simple junk food version of a grilled cheese with just like white bread and Kraft singles, which, like, I hate to say it, but that is the best grilled cheese. Like, I know that a big restaurant out there will try and have you believe that like you need to do like sourdough and Gruyere and stuff. But honestly, then you have a white bread, butter, Kraft singles grilled cheese again. And you're like, damn, like they already had it figured out.
Seriously, it's like butter the pan and just like throw it on there, and it is a homemade classic. Tastes so fucking good. Get that bread golden crispy, and you will see the face of God.
My first job was at the Hamlin Church Dining Hall at the Minnesota State Fair.
Nice.
And I mostly did food prep, but sometimes I would work on the grill. And, you know, one of the things we would make is just grilled cheeses with white bread and Kraft singles. And that's when I learned, you know, I grew up in a whole wheat bread household. And so this was like crack to me.
Yeah. Yeah. White bread is like kind of unmatched. Not going to lie.
Yeah. I grew up in a whole wheat bread, no Kraft singles household, no processed cheese. You know, those Kraft single grilled cheeses. It was like seeing the face of God for the first time.
Yeah, seriously, so fucking good. And so it's jealous of Christopher in this moment. I want Papa to cook for me so bad. But Chim, he gets a little like hose. He puts it on the ground and he helps Chris play pinball. It's so cute.
Yeah, it is cute.
And they get him down the fire pole.
This ends with everybody helping Christopher down the fire pole. And of course it's Buck and Eddie at the bottom, like there to catch him. And we just get this shot of like the three of them with Chris in the middle. And it's like, oh,
Oh. Oh.
Oh. And then, but finally, Tia Pepa shows up to pick Christopher up. The fun's over.
Crashing the party.
She takes him, and Eddie, like, as soon as he gets Christopher away to his aunt, he, like, turns back around and hugs Bobby, which, not to be salty, but I always kind of feel like he should be hugging Buck in this scene, because Buck is the one who facilitated this, not Bobby, but whatever. I'm not bitter about it. I do want to point out, as he's hugging Bobby, Buck is, like, in the background, clinging to the pole, the fire pole, as he watches this fondly. And I just wrote ... a phallic symbol ?
Oh my god.
You guys don't have to.
It all
listen
comes back to the phallus. It all comes back to the phallus.
I'm just saying it was interesting staging. And yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, and so he gives Bobby the big hug. It is sweet. Eddie is sort of developing his sort of like son-father relationship with Bobby.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, all Buck the next, like, sort of like after their shift is over, Buck is like back home with Maddie. White wine moment.
Yep, Maddie is cracking open that bottle of white wine, as she should. Very Abby of her again.
And all Buck can talk about is Eddie and Christopher.
Yes.
Like, he's just like talking about like how sweet Christopher is, how cute he is, and how like
great
bad
of a
he
dad
feels for
Eddie is.
Eddie, how great of a dad he is. It's just like he's just gushing. He's gushing about this well, what exactly does Maddie call it? Maddie says,
I'm so sorry. I just found out David Lynch just died.
What?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
My friend just texted me. Oh my god.
No. Are you kidding me?
Apparently. Oh my god.
Hold on.
Dies at 78. This is a crazy moment to have in the podcast.
Oh my god. No.
Oh, that's awful. I had heard he was like in poor health, but I didn't know.
Oh my god. Oh, that's horrible. Oh my god.
Oh, I should email my college professor who literally wrote a book about Twin Peaks Fire Walk with me. She's like the world's biggest David Lynch fan. Oh, that sucks.
God. That sucks so hard.
Sorry, guys, that you have to witness this moment.
This is such a cursed recording.
I think I'm going to leave it in because this is real.
This episode is so cursed.
This is cursed. Oh, my God. Okay. Well, I mean, by the time...
This is creepy AF is what it is.
By the time this releases, this will be old news. But R.I.P. David Lynch. This episode is now dedicated to David Lynch.
Yes. David Lynch, we love you. May you rest in peace, and may you live forever through your art.
And oh my gosh, his daughter Jennifer Lynch has directed many episodes of 911. Wow.
Oh my god, wait. Jennifer,
yeah, did you know that?
Sorry.
Yeah, she used to direct a few movies, and then she kind of moved on to television. I think she's even directed some episodes of Teen Wolf, stuff like that.
Shit.
And I love her episodes because you can kind of tell that they're directed by like a filmmaker, like they have some style to them. She directed Chimney Begins, and that one I feel like you can tell like it's got all this kind of dreamlike like artsy stuff as Chimney's like bleeding out on the ground, and I don't know. So my condolences to Jennifer Lynch, and shout out to her 911 episodes.
Definitely. Much love to you and your family, Jennifer. This episode is dedicated to David Lynch. May he rest in peace.
Damn, that is crazy.
Fuck.
That sucks.
Well, how do I jump back into it? Because I was about to.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, everybody. Sorry, that was weird.
No, it's okay. I was like, it was such a crazy moment because I was just about to drop a bombshell on this with something that Maddie says in this episode, where it's very explicit. Buck is gushing, and Maddie goes, "So, does your boy crush on Eddie mean you're about ready to move on from Abby?"
Yeah. And Buck says, "That's cute."
That's cute. Didn't deny it. Did not deny it. I'm sorry.
So I think I posed a theory in my Steric video where I said, when a show explicitly acknowledges a ship in the text of the show, even if it's totally like a joke, or even if it's totally like malicious towards like, even if it's totally making fun of the people who ship it, that is like the death knell for the show in terms of ever being able to shake that ship. Like you're cementing in stone that ship will never die, essentially. You see it in Sherlock, you see it in Supernatural, you see it in Teen Wolf, even when that guy in season 2 is like, I don't know, Styles and Derek, I think you make a pretty good pair. It's like, it's just, they always think that they can like get ahead of the shippers by making like a joke about it, but it literally always has the opposite effect.
What's this I think I've heard of this some kind of effect. I don't know.
Right.
I've been watching Funny Girl a lot recently. I don't know.
Oh, you're thinking of the gay shipping effect.
Yes, the gay shipping effect, because of course there was a gay icon on a ship in that movie. Yes.
You're thinking of the Omar Sharif effect.
The Omar Sharif effect, of course, of course.
Anyway.
But yes, they lampshade it. It's cute.
Yeah, we're thinking of the Streisand effect.
Yes, the Streisand effect. But Maddie reveals that she is also has stuff going on. She found an apartment.
Yes, she's trying to move out. Buck is a little taken aback by that. I think he had really been enjoying Maddie's company, but and maybe feeling lonely, before she showed up.
I think he was enjoying company in general, to be honest.
The musical?
No. I think he was just enjoying having someone around. Girl, the musical.
It was because we just brought up Funny Girl and like we're gay, and I just
right. That's such musical theater trauma. You hear that, and you just
I hear the word company.
Song time.
I'm like, oh, like the musical.
Well,
Bobby,
I guess.
Bobby.
Come on, Bobby, giving it up. But they have a little siblings moment where sort of like she talks about like, when she came here, she was like escaping Doug. She had no plan, and now she's sort of like finding her footing, and she wants to establish this life for herself that she can't really do if she's sort of living on a stranger's couch, And this place has all the fixins. It's got a parking garage. It's got 2 bedrooms. It's really nice. It sounds like, and Buck is just so sad. That's his sister.
Yeah,
that's his sister. He's gonna miss her, even though she's gonna be 10 minutes away, literally 10 minutes away.
And she, she's feeling like it's time to move on and like have her own life now that she's like escaped from Doug, and she doesn't just want to be on, living with Buck forever. She wants to actually get her fresh start.
Definitely.
So then we cut to Chimney is at the hospital getting an MRI, getting essentially cleared by his doctor for this rebar incident that you might recall from last season.
11 episodes later, we finally get an update on the rebar.
Yes.
We finally get a check-in.
There is this hilarious scene right after the MRI where his doctor and him are looking at his scans, and the doctor's just like, yeah, I've never seen anything like it. You're a modern medical miracle.
Right.
So funny.
Right.
Just like anytime a show does this where they're just like, well, you just survived with no ill effects, and we aren't even gonna bother to explain somehow that this
Don't you love
happened.
TV?
Oh,
Don't you just love television?
Yeah. I love this type of television specifically.
And Chimney like makes a joke about like having amnesia because his doctor like mentions like amnesia around the incident. He Chimney is like saying he doesn't remember anything about like what happened. His doctor's like, amnesia is it's common around these sorts of incidents, as we discussed. And he goes, "We did? No, I'm just kidding."
Good one, Chimney. He's
Good
a goofy,
one.
silly guy.
Goofy, silly guy.
There's a significant line here where the doctor says, "You're exactly where you were 2 months ago." And it's like, it's kind of like he's stuck.
Kind of like he's feeling a little stuck. He's in a rut of some kind.
Of some kind. And unfortunately, literally the worst thing that could have happened to him today, he's waiting for the elevator in the hospital. And who should he notice is standing right next to him but his ex, Tatiana, from season 1. And she is heavily pregnant. We just heard that it's only been 10 months, but she's already pregnant. She says, like, you're doing the math in your head, aren't you? And she's like, don't worry, it's not yours. She says, it's my husband's. So not only is she pregnant, she has gotten married and pregnant 10 months after breaking up with someone, which is kind of crazy. I wrote down, this was reminding me actually of this crazy thing that happens on Grey's Anatomy in one of the late seasons.
Yeah.
So there's this gay couple on the show. I'm pretty sure it was the first like male gay couple on the show. And I think there are a lot of people that ship them. It's this guy, Levi, Dr. Schmidt, who's like this cute little guy. I really like Schmidt. But he gets this love interest who's this really beautiful orthopedic surgeon named Nico. And such a like kind of like modern ship name, you know, like Levi and Nico. There's something so like Tumblr about that to me.
Lico.
Yeah, I'm not sure what their ship name is. But anyway, at first I was, not to just go off into a tangent about this, but this is for any Grey's watchers out there. So when I have no outlet for this stuff, when they first introduced this romance, I was like, oh, cute. Like, this is cool. You know, Levi has this cool, like, kind of discovering he's gay as an adult arc, which is exciting. Yep. But then throughout the entire arc, Nico starts treating him so badly. He's like,
oh no,
it's just really bad. It's like when he finds out that Levi is like not out as gay because he only just started figuring this out, he basically is like, no, I can't be in a relationship with someone who hasn't figured this stuff out, which is like fair in some ways. But then later we find out that Nico himself is not even out to his family. So it's like, oh,
what?
So what was that about? Right.
Yeah.
And also his response to any conflict is just like, he just like ices Levi out completely and just like he'll become really mean or just like start ignoring him. And I just really, it's always Levi making all the effort to like, you know, get him to open up. And I just found it really annoying. And they stretch out this romance for so long. They never let the other guy have a different love interest. And anyway, then Nico leaves the show and, you know, Schmidt is still a main character. And then eventually Nico comes back. Like he's at the hospital for some reason. I think his like new partner is in the hospital or something. We find out that this bitch ass man he's already in another relationship and they are like adopting a child. They're like having a child through a surrogate. And it's been, I swear, like a season since he was with this other guy.
Oh my God.
And I think they give some weak explanation where it's like, I started dating him and it turned out he was already planning to have a baby through a surrogate. And I'm like, whoa. I just think it's so shitty. And I thought it was so crazy. And then all of Levi's friends are like, think he's overreacting for being weirded out by it. And I was like, God, this show is so annoying. But anyway, this reminded me of that. So any Grey's watchers out there, if you know, you know, I hate the character of Nico Kim, and I hope you all are with me.
Well, I mean, there it is. What else is there to say? Other than Tatiana? Tatiana, we found your match on a new network that your show has now moved to.
But you know what? Tatiana is a way better character. I was really appreciating... in this scene, she talks about like she went to like a retreat to like find herself and like improve herself. She's really been working on herself since leaving Chimney.
And it's like, and it's good. It's good that she has been doing the self-improvement. But Chimney, I mean, you're in his shoes in the scene, and your heart is just like breaking and shattering because while Tatiana has been doing all of this work on herself and has come so far in her personal life, he feels like he's been standing still. He's stuck. Right? He's stuck.
You could say he's stuck. And this scene is just absolutely devastating because Tatiana, I mean, like she's so happy in her new life, and Chimney, he hasn't really even processed what happened to him. He hasn't moved on yet. And we'll get more of that as the episode goes on. But she asks him at one point, like, so how about you? Like, do you have anyone special? And he's like, no, but I did do a firefighter calendar recently. I'm Mr. April. And it's just like, it's such a great line because it's like, it is cool that he did that and he was proud of it. But it's just like such a great, it really illustrates, like, you can see how that would be kind of embarrassing to admit as like your one accomplishment. And you can see that he's kind of embarrassed and she's being so nice, but almost in a way that makes it more embarrassing for him. I don't know. This is actually one of my favorite Chimney episodes, just because I think it's not like only focused on Chimney, but I think his moments in this episode like ring so true. It's so real.
It's so relatable, honestly. I feel like we've all sort of at some point in our life, whether it's romantic or interpersonal in some other way, I feel like we've all felt like Chimney in the scene at some point, and like we know how, like genuinely, and I mean this like as someone who has definitely been in the situation plenty of times. Like it feels humiliating in the moment, you know, it really does, and you start to get really, really down on yourself. It's tough. It's a tough spot to be stuck in.
Yeah, that's why I don't really use Instagram. That's why I don't really use Instagram, is you just go on there and see all the people you went to high school with having way cooler lives than you. So I just shut Instagram. Yeah. Twitter is my home. Unfortunately, I was cursed with that. Unfortunately. But then we cut to a bit of a change of pace, change of tone. We see a few people using an ATM. And they start getting these receipts that have little messages written on them saying, like, help, stuck in the ATM.
So the first woman who uses it, like, just tosses the receipt. She doesn't even look at it. Right. The second guy, he gets his receipt, he reads it, and he thinks he's being punked.
Yeah, he thinks, I do not give my consent to be on whatever show you're filming. Which is pretty astute, because this does feel like one of those things they would do on like a candid camera kind of thing. Like they're just pranking him.
Yeah.
The third person gets there and she is trying to get her money and the money won't come out. And she's like puzzled. Yeah. And then a little receipt comes out saying, no cash until you call 911. Like, I'm stuck in the ATM. Which, fun fact, I looked this one up too. This one is also based on a true story that got a lot of press in 2017. This guy also got stuck in an ATM. Although I read that apparently many outlets like misreported this. People were saying he was literally stuck in the ATM when really he was stuck in like, there's like a little room connected to the ATM that he got stuck in, which I think is basically how they depict it in this show. Yeah. But anyway, he actually did pass notes to people through the ATM like receipt thing to get help. And apparently his problem was it was a drive-through ATM. And so he would try and call out to people and they couldn't hear him over like the sound of their cars. So he finally, luckily found a pen on the floor of the thing and he was like able to pass these notes out. But yeah, the first few people didn't do anything and finally somebody did respond. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But that's crazy that this one is so like ripped from the headlines, this whole episode.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like, it sounds like it's like really beat for beat with that too. So the 118, like much. She calls the police and no, not the police. She didn't call the police. She calls 911 and they send the 118. She's like, where's my money? Mm-hmm. And they roll up and basically they're having this sort of split scene where Buck is talking to Bobby and Chimney is talking to Hen about sort of the problems that they're facing in their lives, what's making them feel stuck.
I really liked this because they're just like having their little gossip sessions while doing this rescue, which I wonder if that's like a realistic thing. Like, you know, everybody just talks while they're working and probably firefighters too. And then there's a great moment. You know, Buck and Abby are talking about, or Buck and Abby, no, Buck and Bobby. Abby is not in this scene, but Buck and Bobby are talking about his problems with Abby. And there's a really funny moment where Buck is like, do you think it's weird that I still live in her house? And Bobby just says, yes.
Yes.
Well, you know, it's funny because eventually they finally get the door to this thing open and the guy inside is like, I don't know who this Abby person is, but I've never been happier to see anyone in my life. And it's funny that he was listening to all that.
It's so funny. These gossip sessions I actually think are really good. Character, like, it's just like really good character writing, right? So you have Bobby you have Buck talking about like how Abby, like, at this point, isn't really even keeping him updated on, like, her adventures. You know, she's been in Morocco for a week, and he just found out, like, the day before through Instagram, as we were talking about. Meanwhile, Chimney and Hen are talking about sort of like his thing, which is that, you know, he had this sort of life-changing sort of experience, and it didn't even really change his life. He's just been sort of standing in one place since then. Meanwhile, he's feeling very inadequate because Tatiana, she's made all these strides in her life since everything that went down. And Hen says some real shit. Says some real shit. This is how you know it's a real friend.
Yes.
She's like talking shit about Tatiana, and Chim's like, whoa. She's like, what? You're my friend. You get to forgive and move on. I get to hold a grudge until I die.
Yeah, that was good.
That is some real shit, okay?
Yeah, I love their friendship.
I do too. I love them so much. I love Hen. I love Hen.
I love Hen. She's like the one character who doesn't get much focus in this episode, because it really is like, this is like I had misremembered it as sort of like mostly being about the Eddie and Christopher thing, but it's really about like, it's an Eddie episode, it's a Buck episode, it's a Maddie episode, and it's a Chimney episode.
Yeah, definitely. It's like it's a really good balance too. It balances all of them really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bobby, says still, it's weird that he still lives at Abby's, and Buck agrees. Buck, like, he was like, at first he was like, you know, doing it sort of out of a sense of normalcy, but now it's like gotten to be really weird for him. You know, he's in Abby's place, and there's no Abby in his life anymore, basically.
It's like you can tell he kind of doesn't know like when it would be appropriate to give up on this relationship. So he's just in this, he's stuck, you could say, in this sort of period of limbo.
He's feeling pretty stuck, honestly. He's in like this sort of like, it's almost like a liminal sort of transitional space in his life, and he has to navigate it, and he's been reluctant to do so, and he's not going to be able to do that until he moves out and he separates himself from that period of his life. This is the thing, people listening at home, let me talk to you for a moment, because I have been through the ringer with some stuff in my own personal life lately, and let me just say, if you want to move on from things, if you want to move on from something, you can't do it while having an anchor from that period of your life dragging you down. Move on. Come on, guys. Sorry.
Wow.
Cut that out. I just had to get that out of my system, because I was thinking about that the entire time I was watching this episode.
No, I think I'm gonna leave it in. And you know, it's just like how I have to move out because I'm stuck in my freaking parents' house. So I need a part-time job so that I can move out.
Well, you got a part-time job, so you're well on your way.
I do. So I'm one step closer to not being stuck anymore.
Yeah. We're making major life changes. 2025 is the year of making good decisions for ourselves in the future.
Exactly. We're making moves.
Speaking
of making moves, we cut to a man picking out an engagement ring, seemingly.
Yes.
But he actually says he just wants the box. And the saleswoman is like, what? Like, you just want the box? And he says, I already have the ring. Pulls out a ring pop. Cute.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, you know, I early on when I was dating my girlfriend, I tried to get her a diamond necklace, and she just pawned it and donated all the money to an animal shelter.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't think she's going to want a diamond ring. So I just want the box. And he, you know, successfully does that. I guess you can just buy the box. Yeah. And he walks out into the mall where his girlfriend is waiting for him at the top of an escalator. And folks, this is probably the most traumatic call on the show since the dad on the motorcycle getting fucking chopped in half.
Yeah.
This one is rough.
This one is very, very rough, especially because of the way that it's framed in the episode. So he he's like going up the escalator. They're on the phone, and he whips out the ring and he proposes to her, and she says yes. He gets to the top of the escalator and he steps off onto the landing, and it falls out from under him, and he gets sucked into the fucking gears.
Oh, he gets like obliterated. You can like hear the noises of his body just being like torn apart by the escalator.
The bones are crunching, flesh is being torn. It's, oh god, it's like, it's really visceral.
He gets like eaten by the escalator. And of course, I had to look up if this one was based on a real thing. I did find a story from like 7 years ago, which would have been around the same time, about a guy in Turkey who fell into a gap in the escalator. But luckily he survived with a broken arm. However, I'm guessing this story was actually based on a story out of China in 2015. This is a really sad story. It was this woman who was holding her kid, and she got to the top, very similarly to in the show, like something gave way and she just started to get sucked down. And it's really incredible. She like was able to get her kid out. She like, the last thing she did is like just shove her kid to the front off of the escalator, which is amazing. But she fell in, and by the time the firefighters got to her, she had died. So it's a really sad story. And apparently this has happened like a few times. So
yeah, I remember hearing about this. Yeah,
I think the family might have tried to sue the mall because it was this thing where maintenance workers had like just noticed that one of the steps was like coming loose or something, but they hadn't shut down the escalator. So there was some human error involved. And
was it a problem with the step or with the landing?
I think in this case, I think it was one of the steps, but I could be wrong.
Okay. And she got, okay. Because with this, obviously, she calls 911, the fiance that is, and she calls 911. Her husband is, her fiance is getting sucked up. The 118 rolls up, and Hen says that, they worked on the escalator overnight, and, the landing wasn't reinstalled correctly. And so that's like the information that they're working with. That's why it sort of fell out from underneath this guy. What was probably happening is that people were using it all day, and just like he was like the straw that broke the camel's back, and it just fell out underneath it.
Yeah.
Does this lady have a name? I can't remember what her name is.
I forget.
The guy's name is Daniel. I don't know if we ever learned this lady's name.
Probably has a name, but I don't remember. But Chimney manages to get down there into the escalator, and he finds the guy, and he's still alive, but his leg is in really bad shape. It's like has been cut by the escalator, and it's like it's pressing on his femoral artery, and like if they move him, he might bleed out really fast, and it's not looking good. I have to say, and this is what I wrote in my notes. I gotta say, the chipmunky electropop song playing at an awkwardly loud volume over this scene is kind of taking me out of it. And I do stand by that. I looked it up. It's a song by Churches, which I always want to pronounce Chiverches because they spell it with a V instead of a U.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Chiverches is bad. It was just this song, they have that sort of like high chipmunky vocals as their style, and this song was playing like a little too loud over the scene, and I feel like it was like a little too not the tone of the scene, so I was kind of distracted by that.
What it was for me that I was actually like sort of like into it. It was taking me out at first, but like they're playing it at this extremely loud volume as they're rescuing this guy, and it's sort of like it's playing on this idea of this inspirational moment that's been portrayed to death so many times in other procedurals, whether it's cops or firefighters or whatever. That it's become cliche. It's like this like old cliche of like the big emotional pop ballad that's inspirational, tugs at the heartstrings. And then so they play that straight until they get him out. She says yes, right? And then he starts seizing and goes into cardiac arrest, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, this is like flipping the trope on its head, because the guy fucking dies and it's traumatic. It's actually really like harrowing.
And I guess you do think like the song lyrics are something like "Is love enough?" or something, and so it is kind of interesting. It's like, oh, I guess love wasn't enough.
What a great message to send to the audience.
Yeah, really wonderful. I have to say I was also kind of taken out of it when I noticed in one of the shots they have a Justice store in the background because they're at a mall. And do you know what Justice is?
I don't. I do not.
It's like a store. It's like a clothing store for little girls. And I've never shopped there, but when I was in like the 4th grade, all the cool girls shopped at Justice, and I badly wanted to shop there. But me and my family mostly shop for clothes at thrift stores, so I was very sad that I didn't get to. It's just funny because I would love to look up like what their clothing looked like in like 2011, because whatever it was, I remember viscerally looking so cool to me then. And if I saw it now, I would probably be like, holy shit. It's probably like those layered skirts that you wear over leggings and like, stuff like that.
Jane, you should do what like that Jenna Marbles like video and like do like having a full Justice makeover, when like she went to Claire's and everything.
Yeah, I was so into it at the time.
I don't know, like it could be like fulfilling your childhood dream,
Right. It was just funny because I saw that in the background and I was like, oh, Justice. It kind of drew me away from the tragedy of the scene. But they're trying to resuscitate this guy, and Chimney in particular like doesn't want to give up, but they have to be like Chimney, like he's gone, because clearly I think Chimney, with his feeling of like stasis and not having accomplished much, I think he's really taking this one to heart of like this meaningless death of this guy who had everything going for him. And so we see them all like dejectedly coming back to the station, which I wrote in my notes, good thing Chris isn't here anymore.
Good thing he's not.
Because Chimney is like pulling off his shirt and it's like covered in blood.
Yeah. I just want to say, like, as the guy is fucking dying, like they're playing this like heartbeat, like heart monitor sound effect, and like he like then it goes into flatline, and I was just thinking, like, it was taking me back to Grey's, and I was just like picturing Dr. Bailey rolling up like time of death 241.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was just like in my. I just wanted you to be proud of me because I referenced Grey's in my notes.
Absolutely. And you know, with Grey's, I can like never truly take Grey's seriously again when they like are doing CPR for a while and then stop and declare the person dead.
Yeah.
Because of that episode where they keep doing CPR on Meredith for like 6 hours after she's fallen into the river. And you're like, okay, so she got special treatment, but everybody else just gets declared dead after like 15 minutes.
Everybody else wasn't having a dream sequence. So that's the thing. Right.
Everybody else wasn't Meredith Grey.
If you are Meredith Grey and you're having a dream sequence, you get to live. I'm sorry, that's the rule. But
True.
Speaking of medical miracles, like Chimney's covered in this guy's blood. You know, he died. He fucking died. And like, if I was Chimney, I'd just be like, must be tough not being a medical miracle, huh?
Like the narcissist version of Chimney.
Literally, like narcissistic Chimney just being like, wow. You know, there's real medical miracles, and then there's this.
Well, our sweet Chimney, oh my God, that would be crazy.
Our sweet Chimney.
Our sweet Chimney would never. Instead, he is sitting dejectedly in the glass locker room when Bobby walks in. Cute little Chimby moment.
Chimby, Chobby moment.
Is like really a great like inversion of the Karma's a Bitch episode from season 1 where like Chimney was there for Bobby in his turmoil, and now Bobby kind of gets to do the same for him. I think this is a great Chimby scene. I love what Chimney is expressing here. He has this great line where he says, something happened to me that was supposed to be life-changing and nothing changed. And like, I just get this. I think it's just really good drama for Chimney. Again, rings really true.
Yeah.
You get it. Like he is still basically where he was before. And I think it retroactively like makes everything better, because we even had that criticism of the end of season 1 where we're like, well, Chimney didn't really like get his arc. And it's like, you could almost say that was for a reason now. Yeah.
It's like they're leaning into it. It's like, it's like really good. They're taking this sort of what would be a criticism of the show, and they're actually building out the character with that. And it's implied, I guess, because, you know, Chimney, he reveals to Bobby that he actually remembers everything. He just pretends not to. He remembers everything from that car ride. It's like, it's implied that he might have some like PTSD from that incident, because it's just like, it's haunting him. It's like a ball and chain sort of dragging him down. And it's like, it's just a really difficult situation to be in. It's great insight to this character, because he's been, so, you know, he's been classic Chimney for a while. He's been smiley, he's been happy, and he's just carrying around this existential burden that he's finally letting us in on.
Did you note that in this scene, Bobby says, you feel like you're still trapped in that car?
Yep. He feels like he's trapped in that car on the freeway.
He was trapped. He's trapped and he's stuck.
He's trapped and he's stuck at the same time. That is a hard thing to be in. Both of them. I mean, honestly, it's one thing to be trapped and it's one thing to be stuck. But when you're trapped and stuck,
I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Truly.
I wouldn't either, to be frank. But Bobby actually says a line that really resonated with me. He says, a life-changing event can't change your life if you keep pretending it didn't happen.
So true.
Yeah, so true, King. So true.
He's so wise.
Feel your feelings. Feel your feelings. Live your truth.
With his Catholicism and his Alcoholics Anonymous, like he's just full of little wisdom one-liners.
Exactly. And Kenny Choi, he puts his whole bussy into that crying scene. Chimney breaks down and falls into Bobby's arms.
Really good stuff.
Yeah, really good stuff. The actor that you are, Kenny Choi.
But finally, we go to another Buck and Eddie scene. Buck has invited Eddie over under false pretenses. He told him that they were going to help Maddie move. Turns out that's not true. She's not moving yet. he's like, I have someone I want you to meet. And Eddie's like, come on, you're not setting me up with someone, are you? And Buck's like, just hear me out. Like, this lady's really good.
The devastation on Eddie's face. Ryan Guzman's eye acting in this episode is fantastic because, like, Eddie has this, like, look of utter and complete despair when he thinks that Buck is, like, setting him up with, like, a woman.
Maybe, like, at first he was kind of excited when he heard that Buck lured him here under false pretenses. Maybe he was like, oh, there are ulterior motives to you wanting to spend time with me. And then he revealed that he was seemingly setting him up with a woman, and, you know, Eddie's eyes fell again.
Fanfic writers.
Fell again.
Fanfic writers. Where are the fics of Buddy fucking nasty in Abby's apartment? Come on.
Oh, they probably exist. There are a lot of fics out there. But, you know, I thought it was so out of pocket that Buck continued the ruse of setting Eddie up here. Like, it's so unnecessary. But yeah, he keeps it up. He's like, no, like, this woman will change your life. Believe me. He opens the door. It's Carla. That's right.
Carla. Yes.
It's our road warrior loving Carla.
Everybody, welcome Coco Brown back to the show. Yes. We love Carla on this show so much.
And at first you can see Eddie being confused because he still kind of, I think for a moment, thinks he's just being set up with Carla. But then, you know, it becomes clear because Buck's like, this is LA's finest, like, home care expert. She knows all about navigating bureaucracy, and she's going to find you childcare. And, you know,
she says she's red tape's worst nightmare.
Yeah.
You know, and she makes a passing remark about Eddie's wonderful physique, and turns out she's still as
perfect bone structure.
She's still as astute as ever, that Carla. Oh, welcome back, diva. We missed you.
Yep. Yeah, she says, let's see what you're working with besides that perfect bone structure.
What a perfect way to reintroduce Carla to the show.
Truly.
Seriously. Yeah, we get to see her in sort of a different type of caretaker role in this season, and just like the show going forward, which is really interesting because she had such a strong dynamic with Abby and Patricia as being sort of introduced to the family,
right.
But now she sort of takes the role of surrogate mother for Chris. And
not mother really exactly, but yeah, just like his beloved.
Surrogate auntie.
Yeah.
Surrogate auntie, perhaps. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I love this. I love Carla so much.
It was just a very wise idea to get Carla back in the show. It's like, oh yeah, well, we have a character who needs, like, care at home or whatever, and here she is back again. So we cut from that to Tatiana has been asked to meet Chimney at a restaurant. Yeah. And she, you know, he says to her, like, you kind of caught me off guard the other day. I wasn't sure what to say, but, you know, I have so many things I want to say to you. So I want to take that opportunity now. And you can tell that Tatiana is expecting him to really, like, chew her out, like, get out all his frustrations on her. And she says, like, that's why I'm here. I'm ready to hear whatever you have to say. But he says, thank you. Thank you. Because like, I was living a lie with you, and I didn't need you to pretend with me, because I'd been pretending for that whole relationship. And it's really nice. And I like, dare I say, like, the Tatiana arc itself is really good. Like we said really in that episode where she decides to leave and not stay with Chimney when he's in his coma, that, like, we really liked her making that decision because she was choosing to be the jerk, like, because she didn't want to have to keep up this inauthentic thing. And of course that was what Chimney needed in the end. And I just think it's very mature.
They chose honesty. It's really good. It was really mature. It showed honestly a good roadmap to handle situations like this. You know, it's a really difficult thing.
If anyone ever finds themselves in a similar situation.
No, I mean, dead ass. Like, it's a really difficult thing to navigate.
This happens to me, like, every week.
Oh, I'm sure. Fall in love again and again.
Well, I mean, and then they end up getting in a horrible car accident and getting rebar through their skull, and I have to leave
Of course. Oh, I like that you're Tatiana in this situation.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Oh, definitely. Yeah, no, it's a very sweet moment. Okay, we'll talk about the rest of the scene in a second. I just have, like, something to ask, and I want to talk to you, I want to talk to you, the location scout who worked on this episode, because I know you're listening to this podcast.
Of course.
Dear location scout, what the fuck were you thinking? This restaurant is right next to the freeway. The amount of ambient noise in this scene is absolutely ridiculous.
I'm going to be so honest with you, Ryan. I didn't even notice that.
Girl, how? Girl,
I don't know.
It was intense.
I was too distracted by the beautiful Tatiana and Chimney emotional catharsis.
See, I really wanted to enjoy that, but like it was like on like the ambient noise of the street was like on the level of like that scene in the canyons when Lindsay Lohan is in that diner and it looks like that truck is going to crash right into them.
I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
It's rough. It's rough. Okay, and I had to address that. I think the location scouts do really good work on this show. This was just such, in my opinion, such a misguided choice, and I can't go on without bringing it up once, and then moving on.
Well, you're valid for that. You're valid.
Thank you.
Well, from there, he gives her a little gift, a couple gifts.
He gives her a little ducky for the baby with a fire department uniform on.
Yeah, it's a giant rubber ducky dressed as a firefighter. It's very cute.
Yeah. So sweet. He says it's for the baby. She goes, "Oh, I assumed." and then he has something for her.
He gives her his firefighter calendar. He's on the cover. He made the cover looking jacked as fuck, may I just say.
Jacked as fuck. You forget,
because they position Buck and Eddie as like the big hot firefighters, you forget that Kenneth Choi is also extremely ripped.
Extremely ripped. And
it's kind of crazy.
She is obsessed with it. She loves it. And they end the scene on a really good note. They end it sort of as friends. You know, obviously they're not going to like hang out and everything, but it's like a really sweet moment of like, thank you for, you know, your presence in my life. Thank you for everything. I really, really wish you the best, and I mean it. You know, yeah, it's really sweet, and I really loved this scene so much.
Yes, one of my favorite Chimney moments, I think.
Yeah.
From there, we go to Athena and Bobby in bed. Of all places.
Whoa.
And Athena can't sleep, and Bobby, because they're so close and in love, he can pick up on this. He turns the light on. He's like, I can hear you thinking. And they talk over her feelings of conflictedness over this job promotion. Yeah. And Bobby is the first one to understand where Athena's coming from. He knew without her even telling him that she was going to pass it up.
It seems like at this point she's really like convinced that she's not going to take the position, and she sort of needs someone to validate that decision. Yeah.
Which I love that, honestly, because there's so much like kind of stigma around like not challenging yourself in the most challenging way, or like not being the most ambitious you could possibly be. Like there's so much pressure
anti-hustle culture, anti-grind.
Yeah, there's so much pressure to always be on your grind and always be hustling and always be like actively trying to, you know, get to the next thing and climb the ladder, when like Athena has expressed like she's kind of satisfied with where she is now, and she cares more about improving her personal life and stuff. And I really appreciate that Bobby gets that, because he reveals he kind of feels the same way about being a firefighter. Like he wants to be out there in the field, not doing like desk work, and you know, he wants to do that for as long as they'll let him. So he really validates her feelings there, which is just what she needed.
Yeah. Their ambition carried them to like where they are now in their lives, and now they're sort of working on this point where they're content. You know, they don't have to check every box that they set out for themselves, because ultimately that ambition was about getting them to where they actually wanted to be in their lives, and they've arrived. It's very sweet. It's very human. So I really enjoyed that. Just another wonderful Athena moment.
Yes, good Athena moment.
I love them.
Yeah,
it reminds me of this quote from the Tao Te Ching that goes, "She who knows that enough is enough will always have enough."
Wow.
That's kind of where she is. Okay.
For sure.
Taoist reading of 911. Let's do it. Let's go there. Let's take it there.
Love it. Well, we kind of tie up the episode in the end with more Maddie voiceover and a little montage of what everybody's up to. We see Buck and Maddie are finally moving her out of Abby's place. We see that Eddie, Abuela, and Carla and Christopher get together. Like, Abuela's still in the hospital, and Eddie and Carla and Christopher come to visit her. and
Mm-hmm.
everybody's happy again, except for Evan Buckley. Because
it's his turn to move on. It's his
we cut
time.
to him just like sitting alone on Abby's bed, and we kind of zoom out, and that's the end of the episode, and you're like, wow, look who's stuck now, you know?
Girl failure Evan Buckley needs to get his shit together.
Literally.
And when he does, we'll be here for it. But it's finally time.
If I really wanted to do over-the-top shipper analysis, I would say it's notable that they cut from like Eddie having this happy family to Buck being alone, almost like it implies that what they need is each other. What Buck needs is to join that family. That's all I'm saying. Could mean nothing. I
really enjoy that perspective. I'm curious to hear an outsider's perspective on this episode and the events therein and sort of this pairing. So, Jane, you know, I mean, if you'd indulge me, I'd maybe like to welcome our secret special guest to the pod
that we totally didn't record yesterday.
Yeah. Guys, is everyone excited? The First Risk Podcast has its first ever guest spot. Guys, please welcome to the pod, Brooklyn from Belfast. Yay!
Oh my god, that's so weird.
How the hell are you, Brooklyn?
I'm good, thanks.
So we invited you on the pod for a very specific reason. And that reason is that this show is very well known in certain online spheres, if you will.
Okay.
For having some big man-on-man kissing potential that has never been canonized by the show. And so we brought you in as sort of an outsider's perspective to give your thoughts on not only the show, but also on this particular facet, which is the characters of Buck and Eddie.
You're also our first non-American perspective on the show. Since you're Irish, this is like our, you know, we get to hear a non-American perspective on this very, very American piece of media.
Yeah. Yeah. I know, because that's one thing I noticed about it is like, I can't even explain how it is very American, but it just is. Like, I don't know if it's whether like the acting or like the situations that the characters are in, or like just the way people get on. But like, I don't know, it just struck me as so American. Like it reminded me of the people that I'd seen obviously when I was in America not that long ago. Yeah, I can't explain it, but yeah, it does feel very American.
I was kind of struck by how much is going on in this episode. Like, I was in my head, I was like, oh yeah, this is kind of a buddy episode. But then you watch it and you're like, oh, it's a buddy episode. It's a Chimney episode. It's an Athena episode. It's like slightly a Maddie episode. But if this is like our buddy segment, you know, obviously the big thing is that this is kind of the beginning of like the buddy dads era.
Yeah. So, Brooklyn, you're not familiar with the show other than this episode. So I guess I want to...
That's so funny.
I just want to contextualize that going forward, these two men will co-parent this child together.
Right, okay.
And so what we're seeing here is like the seeds of that, right? We're seeing like the foundation being set of that.
I would call it more than seeds.
Yeah. They're getting it going. First of all, I just want to get your sort of like initial thoughts and sort of reactions to the show. What did you think when you were watching the scenes with these two guys?
So this episode, what were their big scenes again? Were they the ones where? So they're the firefighters, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and was that the one where he was talking about a girl called? Was he talking about like his ex-girlfriend or something?
Yep.
That's
his ex-girlfriend.
Yes. That's right. Yeah, I'm getting there. Okay. Well, to me personally, I didn't see them as like together at all. Maybe just because I've just not really watched it that much. But I did think at the end where he's like, "Oh, you're gonna love this lady," and he brings in this girl. I thought they were quite close there. But I actually didn't really get like maybe it's just because I'm not really a watcher of the show, but I didn't get like a whole like I didn't ship them basically.
Yeah, maybe this will be a failed experiment.
No.
Oh God. Hopefully not.
No.
It might just be my memory being bad.
No. Honestly, this is actually really valuable, I think, because it's very possible that Jane and I are too close to this.
We're doing important like market research right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm approaching this like an anthropological study.
Mm-hmm.
So what's often compared about these two guys in this relationship, it's often been said that if one of them was a woman, then it would be leading to a setup in a television, way. You know, we have this first buddy scene where they're saving this girl from the tailpipe, because she's gotten it stuck in this douchebag's truck. Her head stuck in this douchebag's truck, and the entire time they're rescuing her, all these girls are like rubbing up on the guys essentially and flirting with them.
Yeah.
One of them asks Eddie for his Snapchat, and after that scene's over, Buck is asking like, "Is your son really the reason why you weren't interested in those girls?" And Eddie says that they weren't his type, right?
And then Buck says, "Not mine either. Not anymore."
Not anymore. It's fascinating.
It's interesting.
Buck had a whole journey last season where he was getting out of being a womanizer, and so that's how he's coming into this moment.
Right.
But Eddie, I mean, we just met Eddie. We only know so much about his personal life, and so there's a lot of things that are kind of up in the air about him. And so I think that, like, from my perspective as a gay person who reads a lot into gay media, my mind instantly went to, oh, so the girls weren't his type. Boys?
As someone who's in queer media.
As someone, I was holding space for it.
Yeah.
This is like the 15th holding space joke you've made on the pod since that interview came out. And I am encouraging it.
I try to speak to my community.
Yeah, so this one did strike me as one of the gayer scenes. And yeah, now I'm almost feeling embarrassed because I feel like, it is like much more. We have the reason to have all this. It's sort of like the shipper brain, like what shipping something does to you, where suddenly anytime you see them interacting in any way, your instinct is to be like, oh my God, they looked at each other for 1/2 a second. That was so romantic. So we probably are reading a lot into it. But yeah, I did think specifically in this scene where they make note of the fact that like they're not my type, and the way they frame this around Eddie's love life is interesting because that's really like not even what his arc in the episode is about. So I guess I just thought it was like, why would they have Buck bring that up here?
Yeah.
Now that you mention it, I can see it from what they said. So like you're not crazy. Like I can sort of see it now that you mention like the things that they said there.
What's your?
Thank you.
I'm actually curious because this is half interview. Apparently. What's your? Do you have a history with fandom? Do you have a history with fan cultures and this sort of side of engaging in media?
Well, I mean, so aside from like music, not really like any TV shows. Probably I haven't really actively engaged with. Like if I'm watching a show like live, I'll like a few tweets about it, and then obviously that would make my timeline populate with more tweets about that said show. So I would engage in that sense and like just keep up with how people are feeling. Yeah. But yeah, I suppose fandom music is only where it really comes strong for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, as you know, that's kind of how I started tweeting a lot because I wanted to keep up with all my fandoms like Lana Del Rey and stuff and Gaga and
Lady
everyone else now. Yeah,
literally he has Tomorrow Never Came lyrics in his bio on Twitter.
That's been in my bio for like years now, and I just won't change it.
Yeah, that's okay. So this is really interesting. I haven't talked about TV shows in this way with someone who's not actively in fandom spaces in a while, so I'm sort of relearning how to do that. So I find this really interesting. So
relearning what normal people are like.
Literally yes.
Oh, not everybody has this brain disease that I have.
Eddie gets a call after that, and then he rushes to the hospital, and Buck comes with him, which is interesting.
Inexplicably.
He didn't need to do that.
No.
And we find out that obviously, like, we're gonna be going over the episode in a different segment, but like, you know, his abuela fell, Christopher's like doing this whole thing, and Buck sort of like sees that Eddie needs help. He's being spread thin.
I do feel like Tia Pepa here like instantly clocked that something was going on, because she immediately turns to Buck. She's like, "Who is this?"
Very much so.
And he's like, "That's Buck. We work together." And you're like, "Oh, I'm sure."
Oh, I'm sure. I'm interested in like how these scenes sort of like at the top sort of read for you as a casual viewer, just like tuning in. Do you see these guys as just like two coworkers who sort of have this like straight dude bro relationship, or yeah, I'm just curious.
I mean, from a first watch, yeah, but I feel like if you watch the show for so long, you would eventually sort of like get inklings of something more deep. I think that just comes naturally from like, because they did have good chemistry in the episode, so I feel like if you just were continuously seeing that, then that would have that effect on your perception of them. But just to be clear, like they haven't touched on it at all in the future, no.
Well, it's complicated.
It's hard to say.
It's complicated.
It's hard to say, because, like, believe us when we tell you, like, their relationship only becomes closer and more intense. They become, like, literally, they're co-parenting this child. At one point, Eddie makes Buck the godfather of his son. And then in one of the recent seasons, one of them does go on, like, his bisexual awakening journey. So it's like, we're halfway there in terms of one of them is now dating men. And both of them throughout the show keep getting paired up with new female love interests in relationships that somehow end disastrously. And unlike all the other characters, they haven't like been paired up with an endgame love interest yet. So it kind of just feels like this weird slow burn escalation where like you can't really see anything other than them getting together happening in the end. But some of it is delusion for sure on our part.
When
I feel like is it like Gaylors or something?
I wouldn't say it's that level of
delusion.
delusion.
Are you like the Gaylors of this show?
Yeah, which one's Diana Agron?
Well, it's interesting because that is like, I guess if you're like a music fandom person and not like a TV show and movie fandom person, that is like kind of a similar entry point to like shipping. Although Gaylors are kind of on a different level, I have to say. Yeah.
Their theories are a bit mad.
There is a part of me that does feel a bit like a Larry shipper whenever I get too deep into something like this. You know, as someone who, you know, finds a lot of like joy in like television and fandom in that way, I do sometimes feel like I'm going to the One Direction concert and like very like intensely watching every move Louis and Harry make with each other.
I will say it's very different when it's real people versus fictional characters. I think that's kind of a different level of derangement.
Yeah, it is. Because fictional, there's like room for like there's actually potential for it to happen. Like if writers listen and stuff,
right?
Even if it wasn't from like the outset, you know, they could, as you said, like one of them's already started his bisexual journey, so who's to say the other one might not? But also, again, it's fiction, so anything can happen.
Right, as opposed like you can't like influence the writers of Taylor Swift.
Well, I can, but that's just me.
I'm built different. Skill issue.
There's one sort of particular relationship that sort of set off my like confirmation radars that happens down the road, where the guy with the son gets into a relationship with the son's school teacher. And first of all, let me just say she is the most stunningly gorgeous woman on the face of the planet.
She's like perfect for him in every way.
In every way, she's so involved in his son's life and everything. And like the way the show frames it is that he has like PTSD from sort of his first marriage that didn't end well and it ended in tragedy, and it's all a whole thing. Think about it this way. Like a man, you know, has, you know, this wonderful relationship with this beautiful, funny, kind, intelligent woman who he connects with on so many levels and shares in all of her passions. And the minute that they start talking about marriage and actually starting a life together, he has a panic attack and has to go to the hospital.
like he's in the middle of a store, collapses on the ground, thinks he's dying, and has to be brought to the hospital. Only to be told he had a terrible panic attack. So that's interesting.
Yeah, that was the first thing that really, I think, solidified in my mind. Oh, I just don't think that women are for this guy. You know, I just, you know,
there's like a, what do you call that? Like a fight or flight response to
yeah,
women for him.
Definitely. Yeah, and then, so I just think that is it's an interesting sort of scenario that we're seeing play out here, where Eddie's a really new character, and we don't know much about his dating history. We get little mentions of Shannon, you know, allusions to her, but I mean, like, he's such a blank slate that, like, every little, especially like Ryan Guzman's eye acting in like the last scene where we are introduced to Carla, it's very much, to me, like, going in with the blinders of, like, I'm watching the show for the first time. I'm thinking to myself, like, this guy's a mystery, and it seems intentional that they're shrouding his sort of romantic past, directing him in a certain way that would reveal a mystery of some sort.
That is true. Come to think of it.
That was just my hot tea with that scene. Brooklyn, if you were to start watching this show from this episode on to the rest of the season, where would you anticipate this going? And I know that's a very open-ended question, but and we've already given you hints and stuff like that, but down the road,
like in terms of who, like just those two characters. Well, again, I could probably just see them, because they seem to have a lot of relationship problems, so I can sort of just see that continuing because it's only the second season. Yeah, I could just see that, because they don't seem to be good with women in the show. Like, not many of the guys. So yeah, and just more crazy, like fucking 911 calls. Like,
exactly.
Oh my god, I was not expecting. I did not expect that part of the show to be a thing.
Well, yeah. So like it seems like
every like 15 minutes there's like a really intense situation going on.
That's what's so addictive about it. I mean, it seems like we've kind of like, it seems like the buddy thing, maybe we've exhausted. So
that might have turned into a non-starter, but I do kind of want to talk about the rest of the episode with you, because like of your impressions with that as well.
No, for sure. I was just gonna say, like, maybe we could get into like, how does this show read in general to an outsider? Because I know it's like this really kind of ridiculous, over the top thing. I don't know. Just what were your impressions in general? Yeah,
it was very over the top, and I wasn't expecting that. I thought it was going to be very like there's a lot of crime shows over here. I don't know if any of you guys have them, but I'm trying to think of one that's really popular over here. I think it's called, I can't remember the name, but there's a lot of crime shows like that are filmed here and stuff, but they're very serious and like it's almost like a documentary.
Interesting.
Whereas this was just very much like, it was like. Who does Ryan Murphy make this show?
Ryan Murphy does make the show, yeah.
He co-created
Well,
it.
that makes sense.
He's like an executive producer.
Yeah. And his production company like is in charge of it and everything, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well now it kind of makes more sense.
Right.
That's been confirmed, because like it's very like Scream Queens in that sense, where it's just like intense. But you know, I did enjoy it though. Like, it was fun.
Yeah. So the showrunner for this show was also a executive producer and main staff writer on American Horror Story.
Right, okay. I see.
Yeah, Ryan Murphy isn't as involved as he is on like shows. He's not like a showrunner on it, but yeah, he co-created
it.
Okay. So it's definitely got part of his like super campy touch.
Yeah.
Angela Bassett as a policewoman.
Oh, of course.
That's also an American Horror Story. I was like, oh yeah, she was her in
You mentioned sort of the Americanness and sort of the contrast with the way that sort of crime shows are sort of filmed and portrayed in Ireland. This might also just be cultural differences, because listen, I've been to Ireland. I love Ireland very much, and it's very demure. It's very mindful, and
is it?
Well, it depends which bar you stumble into.
I feel like to an outsider's perspective, it definitely is, but yeah.
From an American perspective, I mean, like, I walk through Times Square every day to get to work. Like, it's it's just a different world, right?
Like, it's so overstimulating in that place.
So I didn't even realize that we were doing this, but we gave you a particularly harrowing episode to watch.
Sorry about that.
By the end of it, I was quite traumatized by the end of it.
This is a rough one.
Well, the thing is, like, this show is like, I think, you know, they say it's like 80% of the time it's a sitcom, 15% it's like a procedural, and 5% is the most traumatic shit you'll ever see in your life.
Yeah.
I definitely got that from the episode, because like 1 minute it was like them having like a lighthearted conversation about like an ex-girlfriend or something, and then it would be cut to them like, or then it would cut to like a warm-hearted like compilation of like the son and father relationship between those two people, and then it would just cut to like a man in cardiac arrest, and
getting absolutely
by gears,
by an escalator,
obliterated by an escalator.
Yeah, I also found it funny that that they called they called it a tailpipe. We call it an exhaust pipe.
Exhaust pipe.
That was my first instinct too, is to call it an exhaust pipe in my notes, but then they called it a tailpipe.
Oh right, okay. So I thought that was like a cultural thing. I was like, did they not call it an exhaust pipe over there?
Wait, Jane,
I think the terms are kind of interchangeable here, at least.
Okay, no, I have to counter that. I have never heard exhaust pipe like used in like a conversation in my life. On the personal.
I'm not a driver, so I am not the person to ask, to be fair.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I always just jump to tailpipe, but I'm from Seattle, so maybe we just do some back swamp stuff there.
Well, I think if you call it an exhaust pipe in America, people will know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Jane, did you pick that up when you were studying in London by chance?
Oh yeah, I just I speak in the I'm practically a Londoner. No, I was just making a joke about this I was like recording a Patreon video that like sometimes I feel like one of those study abroad kids who like they do like one semester in France and they come back and they can't stop talking about like, the bread is just so much better over there.
Oh God.
So I do bring up London a lot, but I don't think I had a lot of chances to talk about exhaust pipes in London, to be fair. I mean, that was an early thought I had about 911, which was like, that this is very American. I am not familiar with any like Irish procedurals, but just in like a general sense, like I feel like British shows.
It could even be, that's what I'm talking about though. Like it could even be the UK shows because right, so technically I live in Northern Ireland, which is terror like owned by the UK basically. So we do get UK shows here. So it's like even ones like that I'm used to seeing, like Criminal Minds, ones like that.
Oh, Criminal Minds.
Well, actually, wait, no, that's American.
That is American.
Sorry. And I feel like that one is pretty campy, but it's definitely more straightforward procedural. Like it has
Jane,
less.
It was made by the guy who made Teen Wolf. Okay.
True. Oh my God, I forgot about that.
Line of Duty is a really popular one here.
Which one?
Line of Duty.
I don't know that.
Oh yeah. I think I've heard of that. I also
it's one here. It's quite serious.
Isn't like Holby City the big medical show over there?
Oh yes.
I don't know. That's like one that I have heard of. That's a medical show.
Yeah.
I think I know what you're talking about though, because like even like the shows that are produced by RTE that are a bit more sensationalized, that are like in their fiction that I've seen, if they're like a straight drama, they do take a more, the way that they're filmed is it's a different type of cinematic style that makes it feel more grounded in reality, right? So
it's less fantastical, I think.
So I watched Love Hate, the first season of that show, because my uncle recommended it to me, and it was wildly it was a really well written show. It was so good. I was just like comparing it in my mind the entire time to The Sopranos on HBO. And sort of the differences in style with those, The Sopranos, obviously, it's, prestige TV, whatnot. It's shot very sort of cinematically. Some sequences do feel almost like a The Godfather-esque, but like sort of like a weird inverse of it. And then like I was watching Love Hate, and it felt like I was like there.
Oh, it's got Robert Sheehan in it. I had a roommate in London who was obsessed with Robert Sheehan.
Who's that?
An actor in the show you're talking about.
Wait, no, which one was he? I have to see.
He's the guy with the beautiful eyes.
Let's see. Robert
He's
Sheehan.
in Umbrella Academy and Misfits.
Robert Sheehan. Oh! Yeah, no, Darren. Oh, he's dreamy.
Yeah, he's very beautiful, and I had a roommate who was obsessed with him, and she turned out to be crazy. So I don't know what that says about anything.
Oh, it's because he was Simon in Mortal Instruments.
Why? Of course, that's the thing you would recognize a famous actor from.
No, but he was Klaus in the Umbrella Academy, and of course, and that show was fantastic, of course, too.
Yeah, I never watched it. Isn't Craig from Degrassi on it now, though?
So he has spoken openly about about experimenting with his sexuality when younger, but identifies as heterosexual. Interesting.
Craig from Degrassi?
Wait, Craig? No. No.
I knew what you meant, but I'm joshing you.
You're joshing me.
I'm Craiging you.
Is he really on it now? I didn't even hear about that.
I thought he's like playing some fucked up looking guy. I don't know. I don't watch this show.
Kate Walsh is on it? Kate Walsh of Private Practice fame?
The way you would say of Private Practice fame before of Grey's Anatomy fame.
No, I made a note of a Grey's thing in this episode. I love Kate Walsh so much.
I did too,
I'm
actually.
Sorry.
That is a funny quote from Robert Sheehan's Wikipedia page, which is, he has spoken openly about experimenting with his sexuality when younger, but identifies as heterosexual. Weren't we just talking about famous guys who are straight but wish they were gay, Ryan?
Oh my god, stop.
We were because to me, Andrew Garfield is the ultimate example of that. I'm not saying he unambiguously must be straight, but he just always strikes me as one of those people who, like, it feels like he really wishes he was gay. And Darren Criss, too.
Darren Criss. We can throw Misha Collins in there.
Nicholas Chaz. What do they call him? The guy from Red, White, and Royal Blue.
Oh,
which one?
Galatzine?
The British guy or the
Nicholas?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Nick.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Although he seems more like he gets typecast as a lot of gay guys, but I don't necessarily get the vibe yet that he like wishes he was gay.
I just think he just has gay face.
He tweeted that really shitty tweet to Natalia Kills, if anyone remembers.
What did he tweet to Natalia Kills?
I do remember this vaguely. Well, yeah, people were like digging through his old tweets, and they did find a few tweets that kind of made him sound like he was like on gay Twitter. But I think he actually he got outed as straight recently, I thought.
This is what he said. He tweeted Natalia Kills and said, "You're the disgrace of an artist. You can recycle your look from Lady Gaga and Jessie J. Talk about creative originality." Like
that's literal gay shade.
Like that's such a that's literally shade.
It is odd, right? But I thought he got I thought he got essentially outed as straight earlier, like a year ago or something. I thought he had like soft launched a girlfriend on his Instagram.
What, like Paul Mescal and Gracie Abrams?
Yeah. Well, now that we've pretty much stopped talking about 911,
yes.
Should we wrap up our segment?
I think we should wrap up our segment. Brooklyn, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah,
sorry, I had such a little input on the show.
Oh, stop. No,
it was fun to get the outside perspective, I think.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
I think key takeaways are that it's very American, over the top. Mm-hmm. And there's definitely some queer undertones when you actually look at it deeply.
But also, maybe me and Ryan are a little bit in too deep.
We might be a little... That might be the ultimate takeaway.
But if there's so many of you, then maybe not.
Yeah. You know what they say. You know, the more people believing in something, the truer it has to be. So
true. That is what they say.
So true.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the pod, and you have been a delight to have. A wonderful guest. Everyone follow at Brooklyn Baby on Twitter, and where else can we find you? I guess on social media.
Oh God, I do have Instagram, but I don't really give that out unless it's like unless they're like my close infos. I have TikTok.
Although
Brooklyn
Americans
not
might not be
to.
able to access that.
Oh, sorry, wait, true.
That's a sore
spot. Unless
okay.
Mr. Beast buys it for you, my TikTok's Brooklyn207. Is it? Yeah, because I haven't changed my name because Charlie XEX like saved one of my videos one time, and, like danced it on the background, and I like my name is forever on her page from like 3 years ago.
Wow.
So I can't change it now.
Well, to our non-American listeners, go follow Brooklyn on TikTok. And to our American listeners, follow him while you can. And thank you again for coming on the pod.
Oh, thank you. It was fun.
An absolute delight.
I'm honored. Thank you.
Good talking to you.
Yeah. So thanks very much to Brooklyn for joining us on this episode.
Yes, Brooklyn, you were a gem and so sweet and humbling.
Thank you for humoring us and trying to come around and be like, no, I totally did see it. That was nice of you.
We appreciate it. We actually we didn't record this, but we spent like a solid, I want to say maybe a half hour after that recording session just like queening out about just like whatever, like the three of us.
We got to talking about like Gracie Abrams hate. It was a whole thing.
It was a whole
we'll see
thing.
If I leave any of that in.
Yes, thank you once again for joining us, and thank you guys for listening to yet another episode of the First Spodcast. Find us on social media, spelled how it sounds.
Linked in the description. I'll also link Brooklyn's Twitter in the description.
Yes, and for our non-American viewers, we might even link his TikTok as well, because unfortunately, by the time this goes up, we won't have access to that anymore. So
yeah, I wonder if, I guess the First Spodcast TikTok will be no more, but you can still find us on YouTube Shorts. And the good news is I kind of kicked my addiction to TikTok like 3 years ago, and now I barely am on that app, so I'm kind of indifferent to all this drama. But
oh my god, wait, Jane, I just got a notification. Athena Grant just got out of a meeting to buy TikTok.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. There's hope for the future.
I thought you were going to tell me you just got a notification that another beloved filmmaker had died.
Oh, yeah. Paul Thomas Anderson, you're next.
Okay, let's not say anything like that.
Anyways, thank you guys for listening.
R.I.P. David Lynch.
R.I.P. David Lynch. This episode is dedicated to his memory.
This one goes out to him. Everybody pour one out for David Lynch tonight.
Yes, and we will see you next week for whatever the next episode is.
Whatever episode 5 is.
I don't have it pulled up right now. We'll see.
We'll figure it out by the time we record
see.
it for sure.
Okay. Yes, definitely.